Hello YouTube, this is my video worklog number 7 for my GameCube Portable, and as you can tell, I managed to crack the case. I had it disassembled to put the fans back in because I took them out because they were loud, but then it developed an overheating issue, so I went to put them back in and I dropped the little buttons, and so I set this on my chair and went to get them and forgot this was on my chair and sat on it, so pretty hard out of frustration. And so you can tell that I cracked it pretty good, and it might be fixable, but it's really just not worth it at this point. So I will be making a new case for it. I recently got a 3D printer, which you can see over there, and unfortunately the bed for the 3D printer only goes from like here to like here. It's like I think 8 inches, so it might be like over here, but it's not the full length of it, so I won't be able to print it out in one piece. It'll still have like a divider in the middle, which is unfortunate, but it's really hard to find the perfect sized case, so that's what I'm going to be doing, unless I find one and get lucky. But so what I did was, since my last video, the fans were pretty obnoxiously loud, so I removed them, and then it overheated, so I put them back in, and they're a lot quieter now. I didn't break the GameCube, it still is all functional, it's just that crack in the case is all. But you can hear the fans aren't really that loud at all. I also strengthened the laser a little bit while I had it open. I don't know if any of you have used a Xeno GC mod chip, but they work great, but your GameCube is kind of iffy as to reading mini DVDs that you burn, so you need to turn up the laser a little bit to get it to be able to read them, but you don't want to turn it up so high that you're burning out your laser faster and shortening its life. So it's kind of a fine line, and this one was turned a little bit on the low side. It would read games like 9 times out of 10, but that other time it would give you a disk read error, and that's kind of a panicky thing for me because, you know, that's the error that you get when your disk drive isn't attached, and since there's so many little points soldered there, you know, I'm constantly worried about, like, what if something goes wrong? What if, you know, the laser gets scratched, or this comes undone, or, you know, there's a million things that can go wrong, so I'm always worried about it. So whenever I get that, I freak out. So I turned up the laser a little bit, and let's see, I replaced the fans, and then I sat on it and cracked the case, so I will be making a new case. Before all that happened, I made this, which is a adapter that goes from the original GameCube port, which was actually really easy to pull off the fan, to just a generic little pigtail plug, and it has a switch in between. It works great. I played the beginning of Harvest Moon on wall power while charging my battery, so it is now possible to charge your battery while playing off of wall power. You just unplug this and plug this into the little adapter, and if you want, you can charge your battery through here. So this little switch, when you're playing off of wall power, this switch becomes the power switch for the GameCube, and this switch is the switch for the battery. So the battery can be off, but if the battery's on, if you're charging it, then the battery switch needs to be on. So that's why there's a separate switch. Let's see, I kind of solidified the C-stick. It had like a slight tendency to lift up out of its little seat kind of a little bit when you turned it to the right, so it wasn't able to register as going all the way to the right because it would kind of lift up a little bit, making it less, you know, turny. So I glued it down in there, which now is going to be a problem because I've got to pull this out and pull everything off of it and repaint it, but I'm sure I'll be able to get it off because I didn't put a whole lot of epoxy on it, just a little bit. I raised the buttons a little bit, but you're not going to get to see that because I'm not putting them in there. That's like a lot of effort. It's really, like, the worst part of this thing is really putting the buttons in there at the very end, because if you put them on the top, then, you know, you lift the bottom up and everything falls out of the bottom. And if you put them on the bottom, then they don't line up right with the top. So it's a lose-lose situation. And that's how I managed to drop them and, you know, sit on it. So I also did a more exact test of the battery life, and it is exactly 2 hours and 35 minutes while idling at the start menu for Mario Kart, which is why Mario Kart's in here. That's at a full charge. The last time I tested it, it wasn't quite at a full charge, but I wasn't sure. I mean, I knew it was pretty close, but, and it was at like 2 hours and 15 minutes, so, it was like 20 minutes short of a full charge. So on a full charge, 2 hours and 35 minutes exactly. So that's not bad. I should get 3 hours out of this battery. Oh, for anyone who's curious, because this runs on the outside, I was able to test the amperage that it draws really easily. I made this, which is, you know, this plugged in there and then this plugged in here, and I was able to test it with my multimeter. And the whole thing, the screen, the controller, with the game running, I mean, everything together draws just about 2 amps. So if you're looking for information on that, with a disk drive, it draws 2 amps. Without a disk drive, it's going to draw less. So you can use that when figuring out your battery. But on the other hand, this draws 2 amps and it's a 6 amp battery. So it should get a full 3 hours, but it doesn't. So you might want to aim just a little bit higher on battery amperage than you really expect. So you're going to get the battery life that you want, and you know, it's better to have a little bit longer than you want than a little bit shorter than you want. So with a Wasp Fusion, you're going to get more battery life than you will with the motor spinning the whole time. I also refixed the screen, which was starting to get those lines. I routed the wires over here to avoid the regulator board because they were originally just sitting on top of it, but this time they were starting to slide, you know, a little bit towards it, and it was just starting to get those lines. So while I had it open for the speakers, I ran them down all the way underneath the board, and I made them come up like on the edge of the board up here and then go up to the screen. So they're nowhere near it, and it shouldn't ever get that problem again. So that's my portable GameCube. In my next video, you'll probably see it with a better case, or in the progress of getting a better case. So thank you for watching. Yeah.